Welcome viewer to the Ranger Chamber, and this is the Chamber of Interviews.
Hello Ranger Nation, welcome back to the Chamber of Interviews, right here on the Ranger Chamber YouTube channel. And you are joined by your hosts in this video with myself, Joe from the Ranger Chamber team, hello, and I'm joined by this amazing boyfriend of mine.
Hello Ranger Nation, hello, it's Gary from the Ranger Chamber channel. It's so good to be here. Wait, this is my first interview. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for having me, yo. I can't wait.
It's no bother, honey. It's no bother.
Who are we interviewing?
Oh, wow. The person we're interviewing today is a very talented Power Rangers voice actor. He's been doing Power Rangers seasons, voice acting on Power Rangers for quite a few years. And he has done a lot of very popular villain characters and a couple of other voice roles as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome Power Rangers legendary voice actor, Campbell Cooley!
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here, Cam. We know it's very late at night in New Zealand, and it's like afternoon time in the UK. So we appreciate you taking your time to do this interview with us. Thank you so much.
That's okay. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Now, fans, we just want to let you know straight away that there may be technical issues during the interview because of the long distance between myself and Gary with Campbell Cooley, who, well, UK, Australia, I mean, he's on the other side of the world, for goodness sake. So there is bound to be internet issues. But hopefully the Evox virus won't interrupt this interview, unless Scrozzle has something planned here.
Yes, I'm pretty sure Scrozzle would have something to say about that.
Oh, yes. Fantastic. Okay, so, Cam, we have some questions from myself and Gary, and we also have a couple of fan questions as well. So we're going to kick things off with our first question from myself, and my first question to you is, how did you get into a role on Power Rangers? So, as in, like, Power Rangers in general, like, how did you get to be, you know, working on Power Rangers as a voice actor and work like that?
Good question. Well, I've worked as a theater actor for many years, and then when I ended up moving to New Zealand, I had started working in film and television, and it was my understanding that really you can't make a living in film and television. You have to have kind of like side hustles and side gigs and stuff. So I thought, well, people have told me for years, you've got a really good voice. You should like do voice acting. And I was like, okay, all right, sure. So I tried to get a voice agent, and for some reason I had difficulty getting an agent. So a number of years went by, and I think in the meantime I was doing like some radio ads for a local radio station as a means of like building up my show reel. And it just worked out that during Power Rangers SPD in 2005, the guy that was working as the ADR director, he was normally going to just voice agents and trying to find talent. Well, in this particular instance, he kind of threw it a wider net, and he ended up talking to, he was contacting like acting agents, and he said, do you have any Americans on your books? And he happened to contact my agent, and my acting agent said, oh yeah, we've got this guy, and he's really good and everything. So I got called in to audition for a guest monster on Power Rangers SPD, and the story is I was terrified. I was so scared because I just thought, oh my gosh, you know, like, I can't blow this. This has to be, I have to get this. So I went in and I did the audition, and you know, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but the reality is I was so scared that the music stand where they have like the sheet of lines and everything. Let's say this is the music stand. I was like clinging on to it. I was just so scared. So I was auditioning for a character called Tomars, and I ended up getting it. And so I guess because I was bringing, I can't say specifically why they kept bringing me back, but I must have done something right because they liked me, and they brought me back for the following season, and then the following season, and the following season, and they must have liked my work. And so I got to do a recurring guest monster every season for a number of years. And then eventually, when we got to MegaForce, it was like a kind of ongoing character. There was Admiral Malkor, so he was in about 14, 15 episodes. And I kind of thought like, okay, I've done my due. And then the following season, I got cast in another recurring character. And then the following season, another recurring character. And I was just kind of like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. So there was, ever since MegaForce, I seem to have kind of done some kind of ongoing villainous voice. And it's been a tremendous privilege and a total joy to be able to come up with these voices and create these characters. And I still don't fully understand. I kind of understand better now than I used to, but I don't fully understand just how big this franchise is and how it affects people. I'm starting to get there, but I think eventually a day will come where maybe I'm doing a convention and I see the people's faces of who have loved this show and have loved the Power Rangers and the villains and everything, and then it'll make sense. Yeah. So I'm very, very privileged to be a part of this franchise.
Awesome stuff. Gary, I believe you have our next question for Cam.
I do, Campbell. So I'm going to ask you, have you ever thought about auditioning for a main role character, such as a mentor for the Power Rangers?
Right. I tell you what, I would love to play a mentor for this season, or this series, I should say. But it's not as simple as me just like going to the show and saying, hey, look, I'd love to play a mentor. There's a process involved. And there's a lot of people out there, auditioning for this show. And, and I get it. I know that they're going for a specific kind of look and very, very specific characters and everything. And I'm just grateful that I've been able to provide all these voices, these phenomenal voices and villains and things, and the occasional hero. But I would love to play like a mentor or some kind of major ongoing character. And it hasn't quite happened yet, but that's okay. It's all right. I have played one kind of like walk-on part, which I'll get to in a second. In the meantime, I have auditioned for some bigger roles in the show, which I'm not sure I've talked to people about. But in Operation Overdrive, I actually auditioned for the villain Flurious, and that would have been great fun to play. The guy they cast was perfect. He was so wonderful. So I can't say like, oh, I should have played that part. He was great. And the current season, I got to put in like a self-record for a specific character. I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to save that for a convention. But I've had other auditions for like smaller parts and everything. But my one claim to fame in terms of like on-screen performance is I auditioned for a guest role in an episode of Dino Charge, and I didn't get the part. But later, because they saved those auditions, the director for a particular episode had seen my audition and he said, you know what, we want him to play this part. And it was a really small part. And I'm not complaining or anything. It was I was on screen for all of 5 seconds, but in Dino Charge, in an episode called The Royal Rangers, um, um, the Red Ranger and one of the other Rangers decides to masquerade as a prince and a princess, and they arrive for this grand, exhibition, and I got to play a paparazzi. And there's a camera shot that kind of like goes across the screen, and you see me like 5 seconds reading a brochure, and I say something like, the Prince of Xandar. I didn't even know there was a Xandar, and that's it. That's my claim to fame on Power Rangers. So maybe I'll send you a link to that some other time. But that's great.
That's really cool, though. It's really cool. And then what happens in the next season? You get to be the voice of Snide in Dino Super Charge.
Indeed, and not just Snide. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that I was also the voice of. I was the mecha voice for whenever the Dino Charge Rangers activated their chargers, put the batteries into their transformers. So whenever you hear like T-Rex Charger engage, or Stego Charger engage, that's me.
Oh, the green one. What's the green one? You should know the green one.
Don't ask me. I don't remember.
It's a Raptor. So.
I was the mecha voice for their Dynamorph Charger.
Whenever they did a Dino Charger. That's so
right.
Cool.
And then in the second season, I got to be Snide. And there's a funny little story behind Snide. So when I went into audition for Snide, and for what it's worth, this is an exclusive. I've never told the story before. I went in and I auditioned for Snide. And at the time, I kind of felt like, in terms of like my voices, I kind of felt like I'd used up all the best voices I could use. And then, I saw Snide and I was like, oh my gosh, he looks like a total psychopath. So I was like, what am I going to do for this? And so I just pushed my voice as hard as I possibly could. And, the voice came out. And a few weeks later, I got contacted by my voice agent, and she said, they've offered you the role of Doomwing. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'll do Doomwing. So I was sent the contract. I signed it. Weeks went by. I didn't hear anything. And eventually I got contacted by my agent, and she said, okay, there's been a change. You're not playing Doomwing. They want you to play Snide. And apparently what happened was they had cast all kind of like the smaller parts first. And then they went back to cast Snide, and they couldn't find a voice for it. And they kept auditioning people for it, and they couldn't find a voice for it. So they said, well, let's go back and listen to our earlier auditions for Snide. And the story I was told was they heard my audition for Snide, and they said, wait, that's Snide. so they chucked out the contract for Doomwing, and I ended up playing Snide.
Wow.
That's a really cool story, Cam. It's fantastic. Do you think you can give us a little bit of Snide?
Oh gosh. Look, I've probably said this in previous interviews. I'm really bad at improvising. So the only way I can do Snide is I'm gonna have to actually do some dialogue from an episode of Dino Charge. And I don't know, I can't promise it's gonna be very good, but I recall there was an episode where I think Snide had taken over from Sledge, and he had somebody working for him called Singe. And Singe had been commissioned to poison the water so that everybody would become a zombie or something. And so Singe comes back and he's reporting on it. And Snide responds to him, I'm going to take a drink of water here, okay? Because, okay. And I think he says something like, nice work with the virus, Singe. But now what? I don't have a lot of patience. Heckle likes you, Singe, but I don't.
Fail me and you'll find out just how much.
That was amazing. One of my favourite Snide lines was when he first appears in the first episode of Dino Super Charge. My name is Snide.
My name is Snide, but you can call me Master.
Yes,
Oh,
I
yes.
loved that line. It was like it was like you could just tell by the way he looked and his presence. It was like, oh, I'm here and I'm the boss now. I mean business.
Yeah.
Michael, that is Campbell. You are so talented. That, oh my god, you're amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. Okay, so question 3. Now, there was an invitation for a Dino Fury screening for cast and crew. Now, this has made a lot of fans question, are you going to be in Power Rangers Dino Fury at all? Like, are you in the series in any way?
Sure. And that's a fair question. I think I think the best way I know how to answer that is I am making a small contribution this season in the sense that I'm working as the loop director. Now, what the loop director is, there's something called ADR, which is additional dialogue recording, which is where when you bring in actors, they have to re-record their dialogue or they're recording new dialogue. Looping is all of the background sounds. So maybe people in the background when the Rangers are talking, people in a cafe, or the minion monsters like the henchmen or smaller monsters, that sort of thing. So under my current looping contract, I'm under an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So I would not be allowed to talk about anything to do with the series whatsoever. And I apologize. I know that sort of doesn't really answer the question, but I'm not allowed to talk about anything. I am curious now as to why so many people think I'm going to be doing anything this season, because I just because I've done stuff in the past doesn't mean I'll be doing anything now. But I am touched by everyone's interest.
I mean, it's like, because you've been so far in nearly every season from MegaForce, you've been in Power Rangers doing a voice of a small role or even a monster or a villain role. So it's kind of like, is that pattern continuing? I think that's what the fans are thinking. I mean, I know myself and Gary are thinking pretty much the same thing. And one character, in the Japanese counterpart of Power Rangers Dino Fury, there's a character called Scrozzle in Real Soldier, which is the Japanese counterpart, and he's like a magician sort of bad guy. And I was thinking I would love Campbell to voice that character, because I imagine he could come up with a really good voice for that character for the series. But that depends on if that happens. If it doesn't, then that's okay. But if it does happen, woohoo!
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. And for what it's worth, you're not the first person to make that comment. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and social media making similar comments. And you know what? If it happens, that's great. If it doesn't, I'm just grateful for whatever contribution I can make this season. And this is a franchise that I've been. It's amazing how big a part of my life it has become. And so whether I can provide a voice or just work behind the scenes, I'm happy. So, but thank you so much for your interest.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, we love the Power Rangers, Gary and myself. In fact, Power Rangers is one of the things that brought us together as a couple, and we love sharing our passion for the Power Rangers with the fandom and doing these videos and interviews for the fans to enjoy. And it's a lot of fun. We love it so much because the Power Ranger fandom is really a really special and amazing community, really. And yeah, it's great fun. Gary, question 4, if you please.
Yes, Campbell. Now, knowing that Hasbro are now owners of the Power Ranger fandom now, and I know everyone's going to be wanting to know this, do you think you will ever get a lightning collection of any of your characters?
I would love a lightning. I would love a lightning collection figure. It's if I don't, you know what? That's okay. I'm just so grateful that I've been able to participate and contribute something to the franchise. That said, I do try to keep track of what people, are interested in and what they talk about, with regards to the franchise. And personally, not to sound selfish, I would love for there to be a Scrozzle action figure, especially a lightning figure collection. If that ever happens, that's great. But if it doesn't, you know what? I'm not worried about it. I do think that maybe it would be kind of cool if they could do like a Snide figure. Yeah. I know that they've done one in the past, but it's quite, it's not a lightning. It's
a basic figure. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I have that figure, and then they also did the 30cm one as well, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, I think a lightning collection one would be amazing because it would have a lot more articulation and more detail on the sword, and I think that'd be really cool because that's the one thing fans love about Snide is they love the design of the character. I mean, fans may not know this, but in the Japan counterpart for Snide, it was actually Zeldrax.
Zeldrax, yeah. Zeldrax.
And that's what kind of confused fans in it, because they think, hang on, that's meant to be like they call it Neo Zeldrax in the fandom, but it's like, but I'm really glad it became Snide because it seemed so right and so fitting, and it also adds to the nostalgia as well, to the look of Zeldrax. It could be like Snide could have been Zeldrax's son or something in another lifetime or something. I don't know.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I think Zeldrax actually had a son, but I forgot what he was called. It was like the golden version or something. But
Goldenrod, I think he's.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And for what it's worth, I just want to put this out there. The voice of Zeldrax, James Galen. I love that man. He is just amazing. He is such a lovely human being. You'd never know just how wonderful he is based on all these evil characters he's played.
Yeah. And he's also Colonel Truman in Power Rangers RPM as well, which is really awesome. And Shelby's father in Dino Super Charge.
Exactly. And he is as wonderful as he comes across.
I'm a massive Power Ranger nerd. in case you didn't notice.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, if a lightning figure character of Scrozzle happens, that's great. That'll be like a wonderful day. But if it doesn't happen, you know what? I got to be the voice. What more could you ask for?
You got to be part of the experience, and I think that's what the special part is. I mean, for myself and Gary, the Ranger Chamber team, we help Hasbro in the United Kingdom to promote the Power Rangers. And what was amazing was recently I got to be featured in the. Did you watch the Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest video?
I only saw parts of it, so I didn't see all of it.
There was a part where they did a screen where they had video footage of fans, and I got featured in it in the very center. I was there in my Red Ranger cosplay. I was like, I mean, I was invited to be part of the Power Ranger panel for that part, and it was such an incredible experience, and it really shows how much fun it is to work in the Power Ranger fandom, in the franchise, sorry. It may not be the same way as yourself, Cam, but it's like we're doing our part to promote the Power Rangers in the UK, in America, and wherever. But obviously the UK is our home base. Yeah, but it's great.
Cool.
Yeah, so question 5. It's my turn for question 5. So now, question 5. Do you have any advice for anyone wanting to start voice acting?
It's a good question. I think that a lot of people that see these videos on, TV or whatever of actors in the booth and they're having a great time and everything, and you know what, that can be a part of it. I would say, and I'm not trying to put anybody off for pursuing this. It's a really tough industry. I would say becoming a voice actor in some ways is harder than becoming like a screen actor. Um, this is just my personal experience, and you know what? This doesn't necessarily amount to a hill of beans or anything. With being an actor or like a regular actor, you know, you've got this much work and you've got this many actors trying to get that work. But I have found that with voice work, in some respects, there's almost even less work with the same amount of people trying to get that work. This is probably not the best example to follow, but like here in New Zealand, you know, we don't have the amount of voice work that you might have in other countries, but it's still a respectable amount. But because of a lot of the, you know, like the main brands like banks and grocery stores and everything, what a lot of people don't realize is that 90% of the voice work in this country is probably done by 10 people, which means that the remaining, you know, 10% of the work is being fought over by 90% of the remaining voice actors. So it's a really hard industry to break into. Not trying to put anybody off. I just don't want anybody to have any illusions of, you know, what it's like to get into it. And it took me, you know, years to get my one break on Power Rangers and a few other things. And even now I would say, you know, I don't consider myself super successful. I'm doing okay, but it's still, you know, I'm getting by.
Yeah.
So I would say if you want to be a voice actor, know in advance that it's not necessarily going to be an easy life unless you have this like voice of gold that just everybody has to have. You know, you're going to be out there promoting yourself. You're going to be hustling. You're going to be like networking 90% of the time, and you know. It's a hard, like the voice industry is a lot like the acting industry in the sense that there's a lot of rejection, and if you don't handle rejection well, this is not the industry for you. Now that said, I don't handle rejection well, so I don't know how I'm still in this industry, but you know, you get used to it after a while, I suppose. And so if you know that you just really want to be a voice actor, I'm not trying to stop you. But you have to devote like all of your time to it. You've got to just practice it and work it and get out there and network. And that's going to be your life. That's all you're going to be doing. So if you want to be a voice actor, go for it. But just know that, you know, it's kind of a life commitment. It's not something you can just kind of do on the side. You've really got to commit to it.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Okay, Gary, I believe you have our last question before we go on to fan questions. So question 6.
Oh, Campbell, you're a very successful Power Rangers actor, but I'm sure the fans would like to know, do you have any other upcoming projects that you're working on that's not Power Rangers?
Sure. Well, it's not to disappoint. I'm, apart from working as the loop director for this season, and I can't share that because that's a matter of public record.
Yeah.
There's not a lot going on right now. There's a lot of projects coming down to New Zealand. I have just auditioned for a movie. I can't talk about it, and whether I get it or not remains to be seen. If I get it, that's great. If not, I know there's other things I'll be auditioning for soon. So for the immediate future, I'm just working, you know, I'm just doing some voice directing for the current season of Power Rangers. And that's about it. And you know what?
Oh, I think he's frozen, guys.
Can you hear me? hear me?
We're
He's
back.
come back. He's come back.
Am I back? Great,
We can
great.
cut. We can
So
cut.
all I was
Cut
saying is that, you know, there's not a lot going on right now. I've auditioned for a movie. If I get it, that's great. If not, then you know what? That's fine. I'm content with where I'm at.
Excellent. Okay, so before we finish up, we have got 4 fan questions. So Gary and I will
Great.
we'll ask 2 each. 2 for Gary, 2 for me. Okay. Okay, so our first fan question comes from Peter. And Peter would like to know, what Power Rangers character would you like to voice, past or future or present? So, like, if you could voice a character from Power Rangers from the past or the present or
Right.
future, what kind of
Right.
Power Ranger character would you like to voice?
Sure. Thank you, Peter. I really appreciate the question. You know, there's so many amazing, fun characters, but I think the one that kind of intrigues me, and I'm not sure I would do a very good job because I think the voice for it was perfect. I'm quite intrigued by King Mondo.
Oh, from Power Rangers.
Be an amazing King Mondo. Oh my god. Yeah, I think you would be amazing at that, Campbell. I can actually picture you. Yeah, I can picture that. I think you would be pretty good at it.
Well, and I appreciate anybody who thinks that I could maybe offer something new or different. I love the voice of King Mondo. I just don't think I could really improve on it. But the irony, and don't ask me to do it, I'm not going to do it. But the voice that I've sometimes practiced for that character, I've likened unto a very, very old, crusty English parliamentarian.
That sounds awesome. I love that. Okay, Gary, our next fan question, please.
Our next fan question, Campbell, is from Azim, and he would like to know, do you come up with the voices for the characters, and if so, how do you do it?
Right. It's a good question. Man, it's kind of hard to explain. Like with some characters, when I see what they physically look like, when they show me a picture of the character, 9 times out of 10, the voice will just come to me. Sometimes they don't, and I have to kind of dig into a repertoire of maybe old voices that I've practiced or I've experimented with, and then maybe kind of work with that. In terms of like just kind of preparing a repertoire, I'll watch like animations or old cartoons and everything, and I'll listen to a voice, and if something I really like stands out, I'll practice it and then maybe kind of do my own twist or spin on it. I'm quite a big fan of the old voice actors from like 40, 50 years ago. Huge fan of voice actors like Paul Frees or Edwin or Mel Blanc. And I mean, some of those guys were just phenomenal.
A legend. Yeah. Mel Blanc, a legend. He did all those different Looney Tunes characters and all those different extra voices. He was a legend with voice acting. Yeah,
it just amazes me. So I will, I'll sometimes just practice. Like I'll hear a voice in a cartoon and I'll like practice, see if I can do it, and then maybe try and do my own twist on it. There was an audition I did at the end of last year. I can't say for what. But one of the voices that I came up with for the audition, it's just a kind of fluke, was very reminiscent of the voice of the Sylvester the cat from Looney Tunes. Well, he has this young son who he's always trying to impress, and the son is not named. But the voice was kind of like the son, and so I did a kind of variation on the son's voice for this audition. It didn't go well, but it's it was I'm always kind of experimenting with like existing voices and doing my own twist. Another audition I did at the end of last year, I've likened one of the voices I did to I was practicing the voice in a nearby park before I did the audition. and I describe it as a cross between Skeletor and Inspector Gadget. So I didn't get the part, but you know what? He might be right for something in the future.
Definitely.
Okay, next fan question is from Jason. Jason asks, what is your favorite Scrozzle moment?
Thank you, Jason. That's hard to answer because there's a few. If I could only answer one, I would say it's probably the episode. It's nearing the end of the first season, and the villains are trying to set up these devices that will teleport a Morphex tower to the cyber dimension. So they have the Morphex to help Evox transfer into our dimension, and it's not going well. Like the minion monsters are supposed to be getting these things into place. The Power Rangers villains are stopping them, and Scrozzle is looking at this monitor, and Blaze and Roxy come in and they say, like, what's the update? And Scrozzle's like, well, right now they're supposed to be, setting up these, teleporters, and they're sitting in a van, and they're not doing anything. And the Rangers are about to get them, and Blaze says something like, we need a distraction, and he says, "Send in a Giga Drone now." And Scrozzle goes, "What's the magic word?"
No.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite moments because he's like, Scrozzle is so, even though he's kind of like this psychotic genius. Well, maybe I shouldn't say psychotic, but he's a genius. Manners are very important to him, and he never gets any respect from Blaze or Roxy. And he just wants a thank you or a please. So when he says, like, what's the magic word, he just wants a please. He's not asking for a lot. And Blaze's response is, "No!" He says, like, okay, whatever. So I quite like that moment. There's a few other moments to which I kind of get a kick out of. I like the fact that they gave Scrozzle this amazing Easter egg. I think it was in maybe the third or fourth episode of season 2, and it's when they have to use the split emitters to split Mayor Daniels from Evox, and they managed to do it. And there's Evox, he's struggling on the ground, and Scrozzle comes running in, and what does he say?
Ay, ay, ay.
Exactly. And I just thought, wow, that is such a wonderful Easter egg, a nod to Alpha 5. So I was so thrilled with that.
That is really awesome. Gary, I believe you have our last fan question.
I do, Campbell. And our last question comes from Scott. Out of all the voices you have done on Power Rangers, what was your favorite role of all time from the characters you have done?
Man, that's so hard. That is so hard. I've been asked this question in the past, and I do have a standard answer, but I kind of think it's starting to change. For many years, it's been Snide. I just really kind of enjoyed the voice of Snide. I don't like doing it. It's very hard on my voice, but I like the sound of Snide. But, I would say recently it's turning into Scrozzle. I'm starting to really enjoy doing the voice of Scrozzle.
I would agree with that. Scrozzle is just, oh my god, Scrozzle is just, oh my god, it's the most politest villain I have ever heard in my life.
He is so menacing as well and so funny, but he's also very good with he's very good at annoying Blaze and Roxy.
Right.
Avatar.
Right. Oh, thanks for that.
My terrible impression of Scrozzle.
That's all right. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey with him because um, when you start doing a voice, they don't necessarily give you like a brief on this is how long the character is going to be around, and this is going to be his journey, and this is how it's going to end. When I got the character, I didn't know how long he was going to last. I certainly didn't know he was going to last the totality of Beast Morphers. And of course, we all know that generally the villains all get wiped out by the end of the series. So when Scrozzle was the only one who survived, I was so thrilled. But I kind of feel like, in many respects, and it's a conversation for another time. I kind of feel like it was a slow process finding that voice. I mean, it was definitely there at the beginning, but I noticed that there was like certain subtle changes throughout the season, and I think that part of that was because I didn't know where he was going. And when he started out, he seemed kind of menacing and like a bully, and then as the series progressed, he was more kind of childlike and more, it's just very manners are very important to him. So I can see where the voice kind of adjusted slightly to accommodate that. So I'm just so thrilled that I got to play him. And whether they do anything with him in the future in the comics or anything, I would love for them to do something for him in the comics. That would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Or bring it back for a crossover episode. I mean, because they've kept the character around, he could come back for a future crossover. I mean, I personally would love to see a Beast Morphers and a Dino Fury crossover, and it could be like Scrozzle comes back, and he's got the that device that Ryjax had that brings back old past villains. He could use that.
The Reanimizer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be so cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool because Hasbro could do a crossover episode or like a two-parter with the Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, because it'd be nice to see where is Beast Morphers at this time while Dino Fury is going on. I mean, and it's also like, are they in the same dimension? Is it a separate dimension? That's the thing I'm trying to figure out, is it all in the same dimension? So it's all these different things. But again, yes, I'm sure fans would love a Dino Fury with Beast Morphers crossover, and I think Hasbro could possibly make that happen, but who knows what the future holds.
It's a multiverse. Anything is possible. I really don't know if there's any future for this character, but if they do something with him, that's great. But if not, I'm just grateful that I got to play him.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah, I think it's been really great interviewing today, yourself today, Cam. It's been great fun. So I think, before we finish, I would love to ask you if you could do 2 character voices. Could you, as Cosmo Royale, ask the Power Ranger fans to subscribe to the Ranger Chamber YouTube channel? That would really make our day.
Right. Okay. Again, I'm not a great improviser, so I will do my best. Let me quick glass of water here. This is Cosmo Royale, host of the intergalactic game show Galaxy Warriors, and I would like to tell you, you need to absolutely join the Ranger Chamber and enjoy their videos.
That was fantastic, thank you. Gary, I have a feeling you're going to be asking Cam to do the next character.
Please, Campbell, could you tell the Ranger Nation to go and like all our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram? And well, we've already covered YouTube, so Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and Scrozzle, please.
Oh gosh. I'll do my best. I might have to write this down because I have such a bad memory. So what, Facebook,
Twitter, Instagram,
and Twitter. Okay. Oh
Which
my
one?
god.
Again,
I may really screw this up, so I'll do my best.
You're going to do great.
It'll be all right.
Um,
This is Scrozzle from the Cyber Dimension. You need to follow the Ranger Chamber at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to be polite.
Yes!
Awesome stuff. Wow. Thank you so much, Cam, for taking the time out and today to do this interview with us. We've had so much fun, and we hope you've had fun as well.
well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. And Ranger Nation, thank you as always for watching. Please remember, as always, to like the video, share the video, and comment below. And your question of the day is, what is your favourite Power Rangers character that Campbell Cooley has voiced? Or maybe you can let Cam know what kind of Power Ranger character you would like him to voice, whether it be a mentor character, a villain, or to play a main role. Who knows? You just comment below. And Gary, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go subscribe! Because we've got many more videos coming out right here on the Ranger Chamber YouTube channel, the ultimate Power Rangers YouTube channel in the United Kingdom. So again, thank you, Cam, for doing the interview today. It's been a great honor for me and Gary to interview you today. It's just been so much fun. And Ranger Nation, you know, have a more phenomenal day. May the power protect you. Myself and the Ranger Chamber team will see you all in a future video. Say bye, Gary. Say bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Okay, Gary, and cut.